Meeting to order. Today is Monday, September the 25th, 2023. The time now is 5:35 almost, so thanks for your patience. We're going to be led in a word of prayer this afternoon by Commissioner Jenny Holland, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Commissioner Holland.
Okay, let's go ahead and pray. Lord, we humbly come before you and ask that you guide us today, that we'll make the best decisions for the community at large. With this month being Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I just want to take this time to think about those that are going through this challenge and how we can lift those up. And not only just breast cancer, but also all of those citizens and employees going through cancer challenges. Be with us this day. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, ma'am. Please stand. In honor of Hispanic Heritage Month, I was going to recite the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag in Spanish today, but I realized in talking to that young college student that I hadn't done it in Spanish since the 5th grade, so you better pass on that this afternoon. So let's pledge together, please. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Commissioners, you've had the agenda since last Friday. I'd like to entertain a motion for approval, but I'd like to add one additional item to our agenda. If you go down to item number 8, make item 8A, and it will be entitled PDI Grant and Funding Update. It will be presented to us by Mr. J.J. Harris. So the chair would like to entertain a motion to approve the agenda with that one addition, unless someone has some additional changes to present.
I'll make
Okay, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the added agenda item.
Second.
Thank you all. All those in favor of approving the amended agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. At this point on our agenda is where we hear the public. There'll be 2 opportunities tonight to let the public speak to us. At this time in our agenda, though, we're asked the public to be recognized, come to the podium, talk to us at this time about items that are only on our agenda. And we will listen patiently to you, and you may take 3 minutes or less and make your case, and we'll thank you at that point. So anyone here that wants to speak to the commission about items that are on the agenda tonight? All right, hearing none, let's move right along then. The first item on our prepared agenda tonight is a proclamation in recognition of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And I've asked one of our staff members, Ms. Mel Crossfield, if she'll read that proclamation for us. Thank you, ma'am.
Whereas the month of October has been set aside as National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, a time to educate women and men on the importance of early detection of breast cancer, and whereas this disease is the second most commonly diagnosed cancer in women and men in the U.S. and the second leading cause of cancer death in women, with an estimated 250,000 new cases of invasive breast cancer expected to be diagnosed among women and men in the U.S. this year. On average, 1 woman is diagnosed every 2 minutes. And whereas October 20th, 2023 is National Mammography Day, and early detection and treatment can save lives. We encourage all women and men to find out if they are at increased risk by completing the necessary screenings. And whereas although statistics are staggering, we are encouraged that survival rates have drastically improved due to increased awareness and innovative advancement in early detection and treatment. And whereas we encourage everyone to display their support of National Breast Cancer Awareness Month by displaying bold pink ribbons showing support for breast cancer survivors, and reaffirm our commitment to raising awareness of the disease and as a symbol of hope. Now therefore be it resolved that Mayor James J.H. Atkins and the City Commissioners of the City of Danville on this 25th day of September 2023 do hereby proclaim October as National Breast Cancer Awareness Month and encourage all residents to celebrate life beyond breast cancer by supporting and attending events in the city that recognize breast cancer awareness during the month of October and throughout the year.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Is there a motion?
To approve the proclamation into the record.
Second.
Thank you all. Any comments from the rest of the commission? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving this proclamation say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, thank you. Next item is an update from the CVB board. Mr. Kendall Clinton is here to do that. Thank you for your presence tonight, sir.
You're welcome. Good evening. Tourism, we always like to have data to show that what we're doing is working and dollars we're spending are resulting in visitors coming to our city and our state. So every year, the Kentucky Department of Tourism has a statewide study done to find out what the economic impact of tourism is in the previous year. So they break that down statewide and also give us our county-by-county numbers, which you see up here on the projector, and the numbers are fantastic. 656 jobs last year that had were supported by tourism. That was $18 million in labor income, $6 million in state and local taxes, and spending of almost $76 million, which all of that exceeded the previous year and exceeded the pre-pandemic numbers. Obviously, 2020 doesn't really count, but it continues to grow every year, so the numbers are fantastic for not only Bull County, but statewide. People came here in 2022, and we'll continue to monitor our sales tax to see if that trend continues. We can kind of tell locally based on transient room tax whether people are coming to stay here. So we knew that the numbers were going to be good, but this really quantifies what took place last year. So the money we're spending on advertising, marketing is helping. So I wanted to segue from that into a campaign that I've mentioned before that the Bluegrass Tourism Region is doing called Joyride. Some of you all may have seen that last week when it launched. Let me see if I can get to that slide.
Can you all hear you?
Can you hear me?
Oh, okay, I couldn't.
Okay, sorry.
All right. We're getting puzzled at the numbers then, right?
No, there's supposed to be a video. So last week was the launch of a campaign called Joyride. The Bluegrass Tourism Region, which is 15 counties, including Boyle County, we're all members of this region. We meet monthly, and we have a website, Facebook page, and we market the region and talk about things we can do to boost tourism in the region. So when the ARPA money became available, we applied for $500,000 to do this Joyride campaign, and then we applied for another $500,000. So we have a total Have somebody very recognizable as the face of the campaign. But like I said, there's more to come. We've got another year of Joyride content. We've got to spend the money by the end of 2024. So we'll be doing more with the agency that's doing the work for us and rolling out some, like I said, T-shirts and posters and things we'll have locally that'll have local assets on it. A couple other things I wanted to mention. Events coming up. Bourbon Chase is October the 6th. Kind of the same plan as always. They'll have an exchange point at Weiserger Park. We're hoping to close Main Street and 4th down. We're going to have a live band this year instead of a DJ. We're going to have a 360 video booth, and we're hoping to get the community to come out by having the live music and some other things going on. And my assistant, Candace Arnold, came up with a new event that's going to be happening this year at Constitution Square called Pumpkins in the Park. This is going to be basically people submit their painted pumpkins, and we'll have 5 different categories, have some prizes, but the idea is to get people to come down, look at the pumpkins, and create a new attraction, something hopefully that we can grow, maybe even turn into something big enough that it'll bring people in from out of town, kind of like the Louisville pumpkin display they have there. And I was talking to Kate at Platte Elephant. She's from a little town in Illinois, and she said they've got a big event there that's all surrounding the pumpkins. So if it's successful this year, I'll push her to grow that and make it an attraction by itself. So
Was there a date for that?
that's going to be the last Wednesday of October through Halloween night. We'll take them down November 1st.
Okay.
And we have applications at the office for anybody who's interested. There's categories for students, businesses, and individuals.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments to Mr. Kendall?
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah, thanks.
And numbers are also good.
Yeah, that's one of the things we anticipate most every year is getting the numbers back from the state to see where
Well,
things
well,
are.
the video was good, but I always remind folks in Danville and Board County, when you do things like this, think about who or what's missing. So in your next episode, let's think about who's missing in that video.
Thank you and your staff for your creativity, too. So I'm looking forward to this. We always drive to Louisville to see the pumpkins, so
Yeah.
we'll just have to make our own this year.
Yeah.
So thanks.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. The next item is the Danville Architectural Heritage Board. We have 2 appointments tonight for you to consider. The chair would like to entertain a motion, then we'll discuss those 2 appointments, and hopefully we'll get them appointed. So is there a motion for the 2 recommended appointments? These are coming from the Heritage Board and their director after in consultation with the mayor. Okay?
We doing both at once?
If the city attorney says that's okay.
It's satisfactory.
All right, thank you, sir.
I move for approval of the mayor's recommendation for Lynn Bauer and Jonathan Nicholson to be on the Architectural Heritage Board.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments?
I think you made a good choice, Mayor. The resumes look pretty impressive.
You all are very complimentary saying I made good choices. Remember now, these are not the mayor's choices. These are coming from the community and from your input and from the folks who are already doing these things. So I try not to make them just by myself. But again, thank you all. So all those in favor, let's say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you all. Next, we have a planning and zoning appointment. Chair would like to entertain a motion to accept the recommendation from the group for planning and zoning. Mr. Kenneth Alexander is the name.
I move to accept the appointment of Kenneth Alexander to the to Planning and Zoning.
Second.
Thank you all. Any questions or comments? Mr. Alexander's a New Danvillian, been here about 3 years, traveled around the country doing cybersecurity and all other types of work, lived in lots of different neighborhoods, and when he sat down and we had a little conversation, he was really impressed me because of his concern about the different types of housing that he had been exposed to in his travels, and about the different types of housing that's already here in Danville and Boyle County. But more impressive was the fact that he recognized that there were shortages of things being available for citizens in our town. So all those in favor of approving Mr. Alexander, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, thank you all again. Next item is approval of the minutes of the previous meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of 9/11/23 and 9/12/23 as presented.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. Any corrections, any additions or deletions, any comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving both sets of minutes, say aye.
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 Those opposed, thank you all. Motion carries. Next, we come to the part of our agenda where we hear from our city managers, called the City Manager Report. And Mr. Coffey, want to welcome you back again, but we'd like to hear your report.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. We jotted down a couple days just as reminders. The first one was October the 16th. That's wrong. It's October the 9th. I copied that from below it. October 23rd and the 9th are the October commission meetings. October the 2nd through the 6th is fall break. So just acknowledge that there's usually a lot of vacations around, not necessarily city, but we do have an EDA meeting in October, October the 16th. I wanted to make sure that was on your all's radar too. And a reminder that October 31st is Halloween. And what we are suggesting as staff is that we do trick-or-treating that night, 6 to 8. So please note that in your calendars, and we will market that this week, begin to do that outwardly this week. Josh is going to give a streetscape update here in a second, part of the engineering report. I want to continue to talk about the software transition. The utility is where we are laboring over currently. The customer portal, online payments, that has been a challenge to transition to the new software. They are currently trying to calibrate it. And I know Marshall and staff in the back were working on that today with some Zoom calls. I know late Friday doing the same thing. So we would ask to continue patience as we implement the technology that we think will be a benefit. And certainly we're excited about it coming online in the next few weeks fully and hopefully with no more problems or reduced problems. And we thank both the public and staff for trying to work through that. That's been a challenge for all parties involved. The FY23 audit is continuing to be active. We have been trying to get an update scheduled and with Kelsey last week that didn't happen, but we'll do that this week with finance. Then I want to talk about two funding requests that popped up while I was off. One, the TEDx of Danville. We have included in your packet in the digital, we've scanned the sheet that we handed you. So this is his revised budget that has included some of his currently sponsored, in that he's gotten some commitments of money. And I think what, in looking at it over the last couple of weeks with Mr. Weathers' comments I've received, I would suggest that the commission consider it marketing, which it is. He's trying to do something unique to Danville, and he's identified TEDx as a platform to both, I guess, identify the community, because we've never really hosted something like that, but also market the organization that they're part of. And so it's going to provide a lot of awareness to Danville, the fact that we're having an event here. And certainly we could recommend that you consider permitting us to use marketing funds for it. It's not a community allocation, so it would have never fit in that community agency process. It's a funding request for marketing materials, really, from us, from the city's budget. And so we would consider and recommend you up to $1,000 of marketing dollars towards that effort, if that's what you all want. And certainly, if you all want to talk about that for a minute, we can. I do think the time's ticking. I would have to go back and look. The date is October the 27th, yeah.
Yeah.
It's on the sheet. So we do have another chance to talk about it in public if y'all don't want to make a decision tonight. But I would feel comfortable recommending that it could be funded up to that amount.
Okay.
The Christmas, if y'all want to talk about that, we
Why
can.
why don't you finish your report, then we'll
Okay.
come back and we'll do motions on both of the
We'll do it.
recommendations.
The downtown
you,
Christmas
sir.
activity, of course, we'd like to point out that the folks went to the county last time. The county stepped up with a $6,000 allocation, and certainly we would continue, having worked with them since earlier in the summer, and we normally invest in Christmas marketing and Christmas decorations and things. So we find this consistent with our typical expenditure, except it's more coordinated with other businesses downtown. So we would recommend that you match the county's contribution up to allow the staff to spend up to $6,000 towards that effort, as outlined in her report that she handed out last time, Mahana. I don't know if she's made it tonight or not. I told her she didn't have to, since she came last time. There was a meeting last week over the stone fence mason maintenance, and we'll continue to investigate that with Kendall, and we appreciate their bringing awareness to it. It's very complicated. It's a lot of money, so we'll continue to look at those opportunities. And we have included in your packet, and it was on me because your finance director sent it to me late Friday, and I did not see it come through when we populated your agenda packet, but we've included for your all's review over the next week or so a financial report. It's in your OneDrive, and so when you have an opportunity, I won't necessarily go through there and read it tonight, but if you have the opportunity to look at that and have any questions, feel free to ask those of me, and we'll go through it together. I just wanted to make sure it was with you and in your packet. The other thing was, I want to bring to your attention a letter we got, and I put this on your desk, from Mr. McCanley, Bill McCanley, who is asking for a street to be renamed. We're not asking you to really make a decision on this tonight, but I wanted to put it on your radar so you can go out and look at it if you want. It's Boffman Avenue Extension, so it's the west side of 4th Street when you get to the stoplight at Boffman Avenue. So it's the extension going back into the shopping center. And in his letter that you have, he's describing that as his Heritage Family Farm, and he is asking that to be renamed for his grandmother, which is Emma Way is what he's asking for. It's Emma McCanley. And so consider that, and we will have it on the next agenda in a couple weeks, if that's okay. That covers my list of things I wanted to at least mention to you. I would add, too, that there is an ordinance that was passed in terms of renaming a street. And so we'll take a moment to make sure that his request is following that guideline that you all adopted sometime back.
Thank you, sir. Anything else?
Not new. We would like to draw your attention back to TEDx and the Christmas activity and
Okay.
see what your all's thoughts are on those two items.
Okay.
I think $1,000 seems like a reasonable amount to pitch in to show that we are supporting him. But since it is new, you got to tread lightly a little bit. So I think it's a good compromise. Personally.
It is marketing dollars, and it can show that there's going to be outreach, and he can document that with social media and the impressions that he's going to receive online. So we can easily document that it is marketing. We can quantify what the payback is, if you want.
Was that in the form of a motion, or was that just a comment?
It was a comment. I can make it a motion.
Well, I didn't mean to push you, but so moved.
I move that we allocate $1,000 to the TEDx program.
TEDx Danville. Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Other questions or comments before you vote?
Can we add that it would be used for marketing? I mean, so it's not used, on here it says reception for food or gifts. I don't think the city can do that
No,
necessarily.
we can contribute towards the videography probably. I think that would be an eligible expense because the activity is marketing, right? And I think it's appropriate for the cost of the videographer for us to contribute to that. Yeah.
So you include that in your motion, Mr. Cottle?
I will include that.
Thank you,
So
Donna.
Up to $1,000 for marketing funds, from marketing funds. Okay. Any other comments? So the chair calls the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. We're going to fund TEDx Danville up to $1,000. The second item that the city manager brought forward was a request for the downtown Christmas activity, a recommended match of up to $6,000. Looked like you said $6 on the sheet. $6,000. So, Chair would entertain a motion to approve this or deny this or change the number or whatever you also desire.
I'll make a motion to approve the Christmas event funding.
And I'll second.
Okay? And Donna's going to say you're saying up to $6,000,
Up to
right?
$6,000.
She's getting ready to say, okay.
I mean, because on her list, we talked about that, she had tables and chairs, and I mean, I think the city could provide those versus
that's
having to
right, yeah.
spend money for
Yeah,
that,
that's
so.
But we are agreeing to work with them. That's good.
So I'll modify my motion to up to $6,000 with also in-kind donations.
Wow. Okay. I liked when you all decide to work together. I like that, right? Okay. That's good. Any other questions or comments?
I was bombarded with, like, we've been waiting for this comments. So the kids and families are beyond excited, and I wish the young lady was here to thank her for putting the work in. I think it's very needed, so.
Yeah. Other comments? I just think it's really nice that the city of Danville was going to do a Christmas celebration, in honor of my birthday. So I'm just really excited about it. So, sounds really good. Okay.
That committee's meeting later, Mayor.
That's the other meeting, right?
Yeah, we
Oh,
haven't started
okay.
that.
All right. Okay, let's carry this motion then. All those in favor of donating up to $6,000 in support of the downtown Christmas activities? Say aye.
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 Those opposed? Thank you all. Thank you, Mr. City
I have a
Manager.
question
Oh,
for the city manager. October 16th, the EDA meeting, what's the time and location, and how do I get an agenda for those?
We will publish it in the same way the other EDC meetings are. I think Josh will be publishing those. It's at 3 o'clock here in this building.
It's always the third Monday at
Yep.
3 o'clock?
Okay, thank
Monthly
you.
meetings?
Yep.
And what makes you think you invited?
I should have noted the time, just for the record. That's a good.
I also have a question for city manager.
Yep.
And this may be under Josh coming up, but update on signage? Yeah, it's coming up
He's
with
got
you.
an engineering report.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions for the city manager? I'm trying to get on past him, right? But it's okay, right?
The other,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
will mention, I just want to say, just an update maybe on our Click Fix, if people are being responded to
So we.
in a timely fashion.
Yeah, so the IT director and I began looking into that. That's going to take a little bit of work. There's some, the way the thing reports in our system, it was hitting a couple dead ends. And so we've got to clean that up on our side. And so that was a mistake back when it was originally set up that's kind of bearing out over time. And he and I have to follow up on that, and we're actively doing that. He sent me everything I need to look at it. I've got to spend time to go through it to make sure we're making sure those calls are allocated to someone that isn't so it's not a dead end necessarily. And it seemed like there's a couple of those routes that were, yeah. And so that's on us, the way the thing was originally set up.
We just
Not
want it to
bad,
be a
it's just hard.
positive, that's a positive thing, and hopefully.
It is a very good
get the
thing, and that
Things
we-
fixed in it.
Yeah, we love it, and we market it, and we use it. But it can be set up better to serve the citizen better and enable us to be more alert to their issues. And so we're trying to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other comments or questions for the city manager? I have one.
Yep.
What are water bills due?
The 10th,
The 10th of every month, right?
every month, yeah.
And the delinquent notice, the deadline for past due is the 28th of the month?
I'm going to ask Marshall to clarify that. He's not here, so I'm not going to repeat
all right.
some of
Well,
those because I don't want to,
I'm
I
going to do
know.
that for several months because I think we got to get the word out to the public that they've asked for monthly water bills, and we're doing that. And if you haven't gotten one, and it's the 1st or the 5th of the month, it's going to be due on the 10th of every month.
That is correct.
Come on down to City Hall, call, go to the website. There's always a line out there. Well, it's a mile and a half long on the 9th or the 10th, you know, and you can really prevent that if you realize that it's the 10th every month. And then you can do automatic payment, online payments. Okay, but it's new. Been going on for about a year now, but we're still having lots of issues with the fact that it's the 10th of the month. And we don't want to spend our time negotiating water bills, delinquent water bills. You know, it's a nice service, but you should not be delinquent on your water bill like I am every month. There's just no excuse for that. Okay? Yeah, if there are some extenuating circumstances, let us know. We're going to work with you. But they're due the 10th of every month.
Mayor, when the online portal, which we're hoping will be at the next commission meeting, when we know that thing is calibrated and functional, fully
Yes,
functional and,
yes,
and
yes.
free of basic errors until we know them like we've learned Quick Fix, we'll have Marshall come in and organize a presentation at the commission meeting to demonstrate the system. And hopefully that can be in 2 weeks.
Thank you, sir. Anything else for the city manager? You were going to be real short and sweet tonight, weren't you? All right, let's move along. At this juncture in our agenda, it's the place where we hear from the public again. This is the second time we hear the public. At this time, you may speak to us about things that are not on the agenda. You need to be recognized, and we'll give you 3 minutes or less, and we'll listen and be thankful that you came to speak to us. Anyone want to speak to the commission on things not on the agenda? I didn't recognize you. Where are you going? Ms. Calhoun. You told me earlier. I'm coming down. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I'm here to ask, would the city give us a grant for the homeless people and a house? And we've been feeding them at Bethel Baptist Church. We fed 20 people. And we take meals to them, you know, when they call and ask, you know, they hungry. And you know, that should come help these people. You never know, we might be like that.
Yes, ma'am. That's right. You want to announce the date and the time and location?
Our club is called God's Grace.
All right. And you all do it on you have a certain date of the month?
No, not yet. We just do it different days. You know, we're trying to get it together, but
Okay.
this is the first, what I need to ask for Lanier Ballast. And we need grants, you know, for the homeless people to feed them, take, you know, food's out.
Yes.
And we need a house,
Yes.
for, you know, where they could stay. We already done placed a man in an apartment, and, but it's other ones out there too. You just don't know how many that's living across Leeds. They in Constitution Square, they behind Walmart, and by filling station, a man living in his car where the motel is out there on that highway going towards Danville. And then there's one at the library in the gardens. Miss Holland, commissioner, knows all of it. No, we never been talking to her about it. And we need a grant, please. I know you got it.
Yes, ma'am. We hear you loud and clear, okay?
Okay.
We're not going to answer your request tonight because we never do that, really.
Yeah, you can review it,
But we'll review it, and
and you
when
know,
people-
Reverend McCown, the pastor of the church, know what we're doing.
and that's what I was going to say is
And
your
Pastor Weather.
yeah. As your final comment, I would say this: if you want to make contributions to God's Grace, the feeding program that Ms. Calhoun was talking about, contact Reverend Ronnie McCowan. She said Reverend Belinda Weathers.
Well, Rita Ballast.
Well,
They making a donation to her. It's one lady already done gave $300.
you want to point place to be
Well, you can give it to
Bethel
Reverend
Baptist Church,
McCann,
Reverend
and
Ronnie
he'll give it
McKellen.
to
Okay,
Re-
yeah. We need to
he'll
have
give it to,
you need to have a
Rita.
point place that community folks can go to if they want to do this.
Yes.
The city is, well, the city's going to take it under advisement.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's where we paired the meals at the Baptist Church.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. It's a community activity right
You
now.
can get in touch with Reverend McCown and he'll, whatever donation, he'll give it to Miss Rita Bottoms.
Well, the community needs to be aware of the fact there's a whole lot of people out there
Well, we
doing it.
done put it on Facebook.
Yeah, a whole lot of stuff, okay? So we got to
Yeah.
get them to come together. Thank you, ma'am.
we do.
Anything else?
That's all.
All right, thank you. I thought I saw another hand. Ms. Weathers?
I'll be brief. I just wanted to thank you guys for supporting our event. I really appreciate it. And just to give you an update, our target goal for attendance when we started was to at least hit 250 people to come. We're already at 228 as of tonight. So we're pretty excited about that. Thank you all very much.
Wait, before, how many presenters during this time period at the high school?
11.
11 presenters?
Yes.
Okay. So 228 attendees, okay?
And we had over 150 video submissions
Wow.
from locally to all over the United States.
So mine is still in the running then, is what you trying to say?
Yes, it's still under consideration.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. And I do believe, I can double check, but the interview was done and it's due to air tomorrow. WKYT, I think it's 10:30, 11 spot, somewhere in there.
All right.
Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am. Tomorrow's what, 26? You said 10 or 30 or 11 o'clock? Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else desire to speak to the commission tonight? Hearing and seeing none, let's move right along then. Next item on the agenda is comments from the commissioners. Commissioner comments. I'll limit you all to 3 minutes or less. I'm just joking. Any comments?
I went to the Touch a Truck event on Saturday. That was really a big event for the Parks and Rec Department, and it was nicely done. There was representation of all kinds of vehicles, so even a hearse. So that was interesting.
Did you climb in?
Yeah. No, I did not. But anyway, there was a lot of trucks and there was a lot of kids out there, so it was a really good
Yes.
event
Yeah.
for all the kids in town.
What'd you climb on? Did you climb on anything? Oh.
I'm not saying.
Okay, all right. Someone else.
I may say, since you brought up Parks and Rec, that we look forward to our new director starting October 5th, and that's first thing on the webpage for City of Danville. So there's good things happening with Parks and Rec. Thanks, Josh, and some of the folks out there, but new director will just enhance that.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am. I was gonna go
yeah.
right on by you. really.
No? Yeah, everybody said they had a blast, so it was a
did.
great
It was a
event,
great
great event. And this Friday is the Safe Haven Baby Box. I don't see anybody from the fire department, but it's going to be at Fire Station 2 on the bypass at maybe 10 a.m.?
10 a.m., yeah.
Okay. So everybody's welcome to come and hear what this is about.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, I know you got some more stuff. Come on. You finished? Wow. Commissioner Carter? You good? I thought you all would say thanks to all the different festivals that have taken place
they've been
since the last time we've met. Been lots of great community-wide festivals, so thanks to all of those who attended, but more importantly, thanks to all those who sponsored those events. I'm not going to call any names out because I know I'll miss one or two of them, but great activities. Okay, let's move right along then. The next item is the payment of the bills. So the chair would entertain a motion to pay the bills as presented in the amount of,
Move that we approve the bill list which totals $1,179,430.02.
Wow. Did she get that number? She did, didn't she? All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions, comments?
Mayor, I would like to point out that the debt payments are due, which is part of the reason why that's higher than normal.
All right, thank you, sir.
And
for
they
that
cheated, by the way. I gave them the number before they started.
Oh, okay. Thank you for doing that, Joe. Any other comments or questions about the bills? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying the bills as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, thank you all for paying the bills. Next item is the second reading of ordinance number 2022 bond ordinance. Madam Clerk, you want to read that for us before we start?
This is the second reading of ordinance number 2022, an ordinance of the City of Danville, Kentucky, authorizing the sale and issuance of its general obligation public project bond anticipation note, Series 2023, to provide interim financing for public projects of the city, authorizing designated officers of the city to provide for the sale and issuance of the note, providing for the payment and security of the note, and authorizing other actions with respect to the note and the public projects.
You mind read that again? Thank you, ma'am. Wow. Is there a motion for approval of the second reading?
I'll make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 2022.
Second.
Are there any comments or questions about it?
To clarify,
Yeah.
the
The
projects
projects.
that the funds are tied to is Perryville Road Waterline Phase 3, which is a connection from Tuggle Road to Cox Street on the west side of Perryville. The wastewater plant, finishing the funding for that project, as it is, Phase 1 is currently wrapping up. I'm trying to think the year we did McKinley Waterline. There's a connection through Junction City for McKinley. Agreement was made several years ago. It's coming to fruition now. Also, the US 150 tied to the McKinley Waterline, also our service to east into Lincoln County. There was a idea of the pump station on 150 at the intersection of Airport Road several years ago. And so this funds that, as well as collection sewer improvement to expand sewer service off of the Ghost Pike trunk main in the Balls Branch watershed.
Okay, thank you, sir. Other comments or questions? All those Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Cottle?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Mayor Atkins?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Holland?
Yes.
Commissioner Saris?
Yes.
Thank you all. Oh, those opposed? Leave it in there, right? Next on the agenda is the item that was added tonight, item 8A, PDI grant and funding update. Mr. J.J. Harris is going to present that to us. Thank you, sir.
Mayor, council, staff, thank you. I'm here on behalf of the Economic Development Authority. Terry Crawley, chairman, is out of town. And I am J.J. Harris, president and CEO of the Danville Boyle County Development Corporation. So this is a refresher that the Kentucky Product Development Initiative grant application that was awarded in February, $744,000. We want to move forward with that so we can move on to phase 2. That $744,000 is a 50-50 match that will be coming from the city and the county together, and that's to access the purchase of approximately 83 acres of ground, and that's in partnership with a local railroad company, and it's a division of about a couple hundred acres. But we want to look at moving that forward by the end of the year, and then move on to phase 2, which is a $2 million allocation that we could be eligible for, and that'll be for infrastructure improvements. So this is more just an update, an FYI, to keep you informed that we are going through that process stage, and I want to thank Earl and Josh. There's a lot of engineering and paperwork behind the scenes, pulling the financials together. So it's going good, it's going forward. We're excited about it. And the end result of this will be an 83-acre site that is publicly owned for economic development, which will have intermodal capabilities with rail and highway access. And it will be Again, it will be publicly owned through the EDA to support economic development.
So it's a $744,000 match, and you're gonna ask the city for 50% of that.
Yes, sir.
Which that amount is gonna be $73,000.
So, as you recall, you've already funded the EDA $100,000, and so has the county. Part of those proceeds that have already been funded will be used as part of that match also.
Great.
There's no real staff. The DVCDC is the staff for the EDA. So there will be minor expenses, engineering costs and things like that, incidentals. So not all of that 200,000 that they have in their budget now will be used for that match, but the majority.
What is phase one? What does that include?
Land acquisition, survey,
Okay.
engineering, division of the parcel from a larger parcel,
Gotcha.
determining the best access. There's a couple different options for access. Biggest cost to develop the site will be just literally the site development cost, which is leveling a future building pad, similar to what they did. If you drive in Corporate Drive, if you all recall, to the left, they have a pad-ready site. So it won't be exactly like that, but there will be accommodations made eventually, and also the roadway access itself. So those are your two big external costs besides the land acquisition. So the city match is about $340,000. The county match will be, it's 50-50, so they'll match the same amount. And we need to be prepared for the commission to fund that in some way by the end of the year. That's what we're anticipating. And the EDA, in discussing it at the EDA meeting, certainly the EDA can do things like acquire debt and do those things. That wasn't discussed. No one really feels like that should be an option at this point for this project at this stage. And so the recommendation is to go ahead and seek the matching fund for land acquisition. So we would have to amend the budget to do that. And I will go over that with the finance director and come back with a recommendation. Lee and I may be able to do that in 2 weeks, but that's what our target will be. They'll have to continue to process it if they're going to make the transition this fiscal year. Or not this fiscal year, this calendar year, which is what Norfolk Southern is seeking. And so we'll continue to do that, and the EDA meets on the 16th. I'm sure we'll have more of an update then, but meanwhile, we'll anticipate us coming back with a recommendation on where to get the money from on our side. Like I said, we'll have to do a budget amendment to allocate more dollars to the EDA.
Mr. Coffey?
Yep.
Could you explain to the commission and guess to the public as well, why is this piece of land vital to the progress of Danville and Boyle County?
Well, it's a terrific track. JJ, do you want to do that? I mean, yeah,
Well, he
go
was
ahead.
new. I was going to fully,
Yeah.
okay, go ahead.
Thank you, that's a great question. Why it's so important to Danville and Boyle County is because you have to have site readiness available to recruit business. They don't, the speed and access for business development is just that. You've got to have the infrastructure in place, you must own and control the product in order for a quick deal. And although it, Commissioner Hahn talked about this earlier, deals sometimes take years, but in order to consummate or to attract, you must own and control it and set the cost of the price and have the infrastructure available. So what this allows is, one, an intermodal site that has rail access, that is publicly owned. We control the prices, there's no inflated prices, there's no profiteering by developer access or excessive pricing. It's meant for just that pure economic development, to create jobs, economic activity in the most reasonable and responsive way. By the EDA doing this, it opens up the door for grants. The grants like KPDI to
we've gotten by for a long time with the Boyle County Industrial Foundation supporting economic development, and that was a terrific model. The problem is for the sustainability of that model is that when public dollars are used, you don't have to look at profiting off of that property to get the money to acquire more property, right? So the public agencies, all you have to do is literally try to get your land costs back because you're going to get a return on the tax dollars to make the transaction sustainable moving forward. So it's a little bit different model, and for us to enter into that market is putting us on a more competitive footing, frankly, and making us competitive with other communities that took that step just a few years ago. And really, it's the maturation of economic development. What we verbalized, I'm verbalizing it for everybody, since Toyota in Georgetown in the late 80s, that became a different model for the first time, really. And so you've seen towns like Danville go away from industrial foundations towards these agencies that we've formed with the county and with our local community in partnership, the EDC. That's the correct, what we believe is a modern structure. You have private dollars invested in the industrial foundation, and now you're seeing your public dollars to put you more competitive with the EDA. And so you're doing about all you can do with this model the way it's presented.
Okay, thank you, guys. And I guess, Mr. Hurst, thank you for your attendance as well. Commission, I think they're trying to ask us to sort of give them the heads up, the nod, the okay to just continue to proceed with this, and for staff to come back and give us a worst-case scenario about what this 50% match is going to look like. Is that all I need to do, Mr.
Yes,
City
sir.
Attorney?
That's good enough for tonight because it will require further action.
Okay.
Yeah.
You all okay with that?
Yep.
Mr. Harris,
Thank
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
One other thing I may mention, Mayor, Thursday, 2 to 10, or 10 to 2, at the job fair at the showroom.
Yes.
So Regional Economic Development Job Fair.
Thank you for that reminder as well, sir. Wow. Okay. The last three items on our agenda belong to young Josh Morgan over there. Mr. Morgan, you see the clock up there?
Yeah, we're doing pretty good. I got a couple hours before our deadline.
Okay.
Now, we'll run through this really quick.
All right, Josh. I always put you last. I don't understand that, man.
Yeah, always. Just real quickly, from our Public Works Department, stuff they've done in-house, and then also the Public Works garage renovations. That project is projected to be complete we're doing our final walkthrough on October 3rd. We have a kind of a substantial walkthrough this Friday. So we're pretty close to be able to move Public Works out of the old dispatch fire station on the hill down to their new offices. So they're pretty excited about that. And then some other things they've been working on the past couple of months: drainage repairs, sidewalk and curbs, the Memorial Plaza, and then the Safe Haven baby box out at Fire Station 2, which I have a picture of here mid-project. And then I've got some pictures here, just stuff they've been working on. Curb they repaired on Broadway, swell they worked on out in Bluegrass. The picture on the right's out there on Maple Avenue, where we've always had flooding there just past Cottage Manor. We've done some work out there on the drainage to improve that. We haven't had a rain yet to really test it, so we'll see how that performs. And then I had some pictures here at the Memorial Plaza. We're still working on that. What you see so far has been completely done by city staff, which I think's pretty cool. We've got skill set in-house now that we've not had in the past. We're gonna have to move to contractors now to do a lot of the masonry work, but that's what we're planning to work on now. The goal is to have this done before we get into the holidays, just, FYI. Downtown streetscape, there's the numbers where we're at. We're getting really close to completion. That anticipated substantial completion date really depends on the traffic signal mast arms. The last date I was given for those were the first week of November. But everything else is getting really close. As you saw this morning when we came in, that they started milling last night. They'll mill again tonight, and then they'll have 3 nights of paving. Then they'll have the project paved. And then also streetlights. There's a chance we get some streetlights turned on tomorrow. would be great because they could use them to do the paving. That's what we were talking about today. It could really make their life a little easier during the paving if they had some lights on. So pretty much everything's in place to turn those on, so hopefully that happens over the next few days, next week or two. And then we are tentatively planning a ribbon cutting mid to late November. I'm a little nervous now with the new delivery date on the mast arms. I'd like to get those installed. I'd like to have the project done and everything cleaned up. But we may end up pushing that back into the kind of the Christmas celebrations, picking out one of those and doing it in conjunction with it, and having a big party downtown to open up Main Street. Y'all have any questions about streetscape while we're here? I can answer anything. Okay.
All I was gonna ask about the paving on Main, that's not gonna affect our paving list like our normal paving list, is it?
No, we're going to talk about that. I've got a procurement on this next item on the agenda. There's some extra work. Most of the work was included in the original bid, and it's paid for through the project. But we have some additional. We're kind of spreading out a little further just to fix some spots where they've done additional cuts that we want to clean up and things like that. And I also want to do South Second Street between Main and Walnut, which has been in really bad shape for a couple of years, and I've put it off until this project was done. We're going to pay for those out of the municipal aid, but we budgeted for that out of the capital side of municipal aid. It doesn't take away from our normal paving list budget number.
Will they raise the manholes also?
So they're initially going to pave over them and put the paper over top of them so we know where they're at, so there won't be a dip. And then Public Works will have to come back later, and we'll take the paper up, we'll take the pavement off of the manholes and use our machinery that we have that does the manhole raising now. We'll prioritize that, yes. But you won't have a drop-off initially. Now, water valves, they'll have to work on kind of as they go. It's a little bit different story, but I think I've been talking to the water department about it and being ready to start raising those as soon as possible. Parks Master Plan implementation, you all had a meeting when I was off with the county to kind of go over a lot of this stuff. So you've probably talked through this a lot lately. We're still working on conceptual design of all the next phase projects. We'll try to have those ready. We're doing some meetings with those in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to meet with the consultant to keep those designs moving along. But the projects we have active right now, Jenny Rogers is moving along now that we've got a lot of the asbestos issues figured out and a lot of those things. It's really moving quickly. They're still pushing towards December. I've met with the schools out there. They're getting prepared as well, and it's all kind of falling together for them to hopefully be opening up in January. So we're still pushing towards that date. Michael Smith Park Phase 1, bid opening is scheduled for October 3rd for the rebid with the playground and the splash pad. And we're shooting for that May 1st, 2024 completion date. And then the tennis court, Millennium Park Phase 1, the tennis courts are complete. We're doing some cleanup stuff out there with the contractor. There's some railings and different items and some plantings that they need to work on, but for the most part, it is complete, but we're still kind of working through some final punch list items. I did want to mention for parks, I thought of this when you all were discussing stuff, events that they're having. I'd kind of jump in. I should have a section for parks on here now. Hopefully Tommy gets here, he can take care of that for me. But they're having a dog swim tomorrow night at Bunny Davis for another first-time event for us, where we're going to close the pool out by letting the dogs hang out in it. They're doing that in conjunction with the Humane Society. So they're going to have a food truck there and everything. So that'll be tomorrow evening. Wayfinding. This is out for bids, and we are scheduled to open bids on October 17th. So we're finally moving forward with wayfinding, and I'm hoping to have the bids ready for you all at the second October meeting for award is the plan. And then stormwater, we're still working through the Streamland Phase 1, the stormwater manual update. I have a meeting this week with our consultant about that. And Subbasin F assessment, they've completed their initial survey and data collection, which means we're ready to start public outreach. We've started reaching out to facilities in that basin. We're going to start reaching out the next couple of days to start scheduling those for October. As soon as I know those dates, we'll start publicizing them. We'll get the word out to everybody in those neighborhoods. Subbasin F is kind of I should put a map of it on here. I'll try to get that out. When we do the public publicity about it, we'll put a map out. It's kind of the north side of town. It's Lexington Avenue to Candlewood and Maple Avenue to the cemetery, kind of that area of the north side of downtown. But we'll get a map out that lays that out and publicize the locations. We'll do a couple we'll look at some churches. We might do one at the park if the weather's good, at Jackson Park. It's included in it. So we'll try to get as many folks involved as we can, because we're just trying to get, people that live out there live in those basins and know the issues better than I do. They know that when it rains, what happens, and we'd like to get feedback from everybody. Street and sidewalk projects, the Boffman Avenue sidewalks, we're still working on the design. We resubmitted for the next round of KYTC TAP grants, hopefully get that funded. South Danville Connector, which is part of that, will be this North Stewart's Lane extension, which is part of the PDI grant that we just discussed, which is kind of, if we get that part of phase 1 funding will go towards it, and then if we get that phase 2, it would complete that extension. In the Maple Avenue sidewalk, I wish I had some pictures of this. I should have gone out there and taken some pictures today. We've extended the sidewalk on the west side of Maple Avenue from where it ends just past Rosemont out to Cottage Manor to tie that all together. That was a pretty easy project for us to knock out, and we've got staff that were able to do that. We're going to look at Lexington Avenue next. There's that section on the right-hand side as you're going out of town that, you can see where people have worn a path. That's going to be a little more difficult project because of the drop-off to the culvert, but we're going to, try to work with the property owner there to get access to a little extra space. And then trail system, it's been a long time coming, but the recreational trails grant that's going to fund the Stanford Avenue Pedestrian Refuge Island, we've finally got all of our documents from KYTC that we've submitted to the grant office now, and they're reviewing those. As soon as they give us the okay, we will advertise that project for bids. So hopefully we're working on that over the winter. So, and then we're going to try to get the Trails Alliance together in the next couple of weeks to get, and then set up a meeting with planning and zoning, the comprehensive plan folks, so they can talk to the Trails Alliance about how we want to incorporate their master plan into the comprehensive plan. And then some miscellaneous projects. We've completed the parking garage elevator storefront enclosure. I don't know if you all have noticed on the 3rd Street side of the parking garage, we've closed the elevator shaft in with storefront glass. Looks great. It turned out really well. I'm meeting a contractor out there tomorrow to look at pressure washing that stairwell, starting to get that area cleaned up because it just looks really rough. We'll do some painting after we do the cleaning and try to get. And then we have some repairs that we need to make to the elevator, the inside. There's some tile that's cracked and things like that. So we're kind of working on that elevator and stairwell to kind of bring it something nicer. The 2021 Land and Water Conservation Grant, that's the ball field improvements at Jackson and then the playgrounds at Jackson Park and Counter Street Park. The improvements are almost complete at Pete Crest Field there in Jackson Park. If you all get a chance to go out there, we're starting to host some things, some programming out there because we've got a lot of it cleaned up. There's still a few things we need to do with the concession stands and press box, and we're looking at maybe getting a scoreboard as well. That scoreboard's not really functioning very well for us right now. And then the playgrounds, we ordered those back in the spring, and they are scheduled to ship in October. So hopefully we'll be able to get those installed before the winter time gets here. Police department renovations, that's ongoing. They've been here meeting with staff, doing some kind of on-site data collection. And then pickleball courts, that resurfacing is complete. We're going to do some improvements to the pavilion there at Bunny Davis. They utilize that quite a bit while they're there playing. And it's just an old wooden deck that needs a lot of improvements. And then we'll look at the next year's budget. We'll talk about if we want to go ahead and resurface Jackson Park courts, because with those Bunny Davis courts reach their capacity on certain days of the week, so we actually need more courts at certain times. So we'll look at that in future budgets. That's all I had for the engineering report. Any other questions? Real quick, I wanted to add, I've struggled with this a little bit. I'm starting not to like this as a way to communicate with you all. I was going through it and didn't feel like, I don't feel like I'm communicating often enough. And every 3 months is a long time with everything that we have going on. So I'm going to try to do something, not commission meeting, but something that gets out to you all and the public a little more often, just broadly across all my departments. So I'm saying that out loud to you all, so I hold myself accountable now that I said it. So,
I mean, I would like to see it every month. I think it would be a great addition to our agenda.
Yeah.
Because it's, I mean, these are questions I had written down, so,
You want to see it and hear from Josh every month?
yeah.
Every 2 weeks?
yeah, and like I said, I don't know if it's me talking to you all in a meeting or if it's just something that's some kind of report that ends up on our website and ends up in your all's hands and ahead of time that you can look at, and people are, a little more back and forth of questions and things like that.
With
just so we-
parks being so heavily involved and so much activity in developing the parks and expansion and all that with Jenny Rogers, I think it's definitely worth a monthly update between engineering and parks. So we'll work towards that. And I do agree with you, simplifying the communication, but that's always been a challenge. And we live it, and you guys sometimes can lack a week of communication with something or 10 days. And it's easy for us to get out in front of that. And so we've got to figure out that communication. And it's been a big challenge over the years. And I'd love to figure that out. All the ideas are welcome, but we'll try to communicate more frequently at this level with those projects, those departments.
Well, we give Josh a hard time, but Josh, if you did an update at every one of our meetings, with the commitment, they'd be shorter than some of the other ones, we'd be fine, but no.
It may be.
We tease staff and joke with staff guys, but the public needs to understand that you guys do an outstanding job of keeping us informed. That you can never give us all that we need to know because the stuff changes every 25 minutes. So when folks say they got questions, I welcome the questions because I realize things keep changing on us. So we appreciate that. But Josh, you have 2 other items on the agenda. So any other comments about Josh's report, questions?
I'd like to work backwards with just a couple of questions. On the pickleball, I'd like to discuss that more when we have the joint meeting and get the picklers' input and Parks and Rec, because seems like that community likes to be together. Might consider adding courts over Bunny Davis rather than spreading them out to Jackson Park and find a new use for that. So it's just something to think about. I think that we ought to talk about that. And then just clear up my confusion, I'm happy to move forward with the signage. Did you say we had a couple of signs already?
The wayfinding signs?
Wayfinding, yeah.
Not the big signs on the bypass. We've
Okay.
included a couple of signs around town. When we've done new signs that direct people to parking, or we had a Dollhouse Museum sign go down that we needed
Okay.
to replace. When those things have come up in the past few months, we've used that design template to do new
Okay.
signs.
So we're looking at 2024 after the bid process.
Yeah, I
If
think.
people ask, yeah.
Yeah, if we advertise, we open bids, and that's going to take time to get those in. So I think, could it happen in late November, December? Yes, but I think just prepare people that that it could be early 2024 before those signs get installed.
There's a sign with the correct font going into the 3rd Street entrance of the parking garage. It's identifying parking. So it's the correct color scheme and the correct font.
Okay.
And so hopefully, if you want to kind of see what that,
Or if other people want to see it.
that's an easy one to point to because a lot of people
Yeah.
drive up
Okay.
3rd Street, obviously.
2 of them, yeah.
Well, thank you, Josh, and thank you for Commission for letting me ask a couple questions.
Well, and I wanted to ask, go ahead, Jenny, you wanted to ask a
You
question.
can go first. I had one.
No, I mean, I just,
Josh, I tried.
That's fine.
first off, Bunny Davis, I know they're doing some work out there and it looks really good. So I appreciate you all just updating even the columns, because people are asking, hey, what are y'all doing? You're working on it. So that's a good thing, because people thought we were tearing it down or something. I'm not sure. And then the pickleball courts are amazing because they're always full. But I wondered, for me, I'd like to do a tour of like all the different parks and as a commissioner, the different facilities, and see what's going on at the wastewater plant. I think that would be something helpful for the commission.
It's a good idea.
For me.
That's a good idea. Especially with the activity that's happened since you two have come on, that's probably something we should have done. And so, yeah, we'll try to coordinate that. Ashley can put that together.
Just to see
for us.
like the Public
Yep.
Works building and the,
Yep.
the things that are on here that I'd like to see that,
Could we do it as a special call meeting so all
Yeah.
5 of us could be invited at the same time?
yeah.
You can do that. you'll have to bring the newspaper along with you.
That's all right.
That sometimes makes for a crowded bus.
You can take a tour
You're right.
as long as you're not discussing what you're doing at the tour. So you can all participate in the tour and allow staff to guide you through it without it becoming a big discussion like, well, you can ask general questions, but what you couldn't say is, well, I think we need to not spend the money here and we need to spend the money in Jackson Park or those types of things. But from a tour perspective, staff can lead you all 5 together without it being a meeting.
You have a lot of faith in us, don't you?
If you promise to be on good behavior.
Okay.
And the only other thing is, I was wondering about the City of Danville entry signs. Those are not, where does that stand?
Melanie and I have been discussing those. We need to prioritize those. We need to put together, I'd like to do those as a design build project where we put out a proposal and design companies along with sign companies come in and propose to us a new sign. We could put parameters around it. That's what Melanie and I need to sit down and start talking about, what those parameters would be. That way it doesn't put, we've talked about, like, I don't want to spend 2 years deciding what the next ones look like. If we do a design build concept, we can look at, if we get several different submittals, we can look at those and yeah, this is the route we want to go. And maybe we can dial it in from that point. We don't have to land on that and stay with it, but at least gives us an ability to look at a lot of different options and see how we want how these signs to look. Because I think there's some updating that needs to be done, and then some of them they're starting to really show their age, and they've taken some damage lately with some storm damage.
That's all.
Yeah, that was my question too, the welcome
Okay.
to Danville
Yeah.
sign, so.
Yeah,
Glad it's being worked
that's
on.
probably that's one of my things that I wake up in the middle of the night thinking about is welcome to Danville signs. So, yeah.
We've had discussions about them, so,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
All right. And Josh, I think the thing about refurbishing them, that you may not have to change the design at all. They just have such historical presence, if they were updated and just newly constructed, newly painted, newly whatever, because they just really speak volumes to our community. It's just that the paint is faded and whatever, so I don't know. Okay, other comments or questions for Josh? Because we have 2 more items on this agenda, and Josh just can't wait to get to these next 2 items. Any other comments or questions for Josh? All right, Josh, let's go to the next one, sir.
Yes, in your package, you have a proposal from the Allen Company with using their state bid unit price to do some additional paving downtown outside of the original scope of the project, and then also complete the paving on South 2nd Street between Main and Walnut. The total amount of additional paving is estimated to be $46,873. The original scope was about $111,000. So as you see in this quote from them, about $32,173 is the additional, kind of how the scope of the project has crept out a little bit, and then the South 2nd Street section is $14,700. So what we'll do is we have money budgeted in our municipal aid out of the capital line item in it, and that's how we will fund this $46,873.
Thank you, sir. Chair would entertain a motion to accept this adjustment.
I move to accept resolution number 2023-09-2501.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Questions or comments?
I'll make a comment. I like this move, especially that 2nd Street by Constitution Square. There's a lot of activity happens around that area, and that's really going to freshen that up.
Yes. Other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of passing this resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, thank you, the motion carries. Josh, one more item.
Yes, we rebid the Hilldale Cemetery Committal Shelter. We received bids on September 20th. We actually received 6 bids this time. We got the word out. We got a lot of interest in the project. But in your package, you have the bid tab that lists the 6 bids. As you can see, the low bid is $381,800 from HWC Enterprises. And from there, it ranges up. You get $391, $430, $456, $536, and you have a $598. I think what this tells us is that's a good bid. Like that's the market bid at $381,000. But that vastly exceeds our budgeted amount and really vastly exceeds what we really need to spend on this project. And then we've also had some issues with the location. We've had some discussions, some folks in the community have come forward and said that's really not the location we'd like to see it. And so staff is recommending that we reject these bids, and kind of step back and maybe talk to the cemetery committee and reevaluate how we want to move forward with this. I mean, if you really, in our minds, I think we all had a number around, I mean, honestly, about 100 to 150,000 is what we'd like to spend on each shelter. And I feel like, you all have you handed out a rendering ahead of time of what the shelter looked like that we bid. It's not anything extravagant. It's big. It's a good sized shelter, but it's just really 8 columns and a roof and then a back wall. So if we value engineered this down to a point that it was $150,000, I don't know if it'd be something we'd be proud of putting in the cemeteries, is my fear. But we can go down that route and see what we end up with. I just think this is another one of those things we kind of missed the boat on a construction cost standpoint of being able to afford, make it, and not just afford, but make it financially make sense to do. So we are recommending that we reject the bids tonight.
Josh, could you tell us the size, the dimensions of this, and then tell us the number of potential burial sites that this would cover? We'd lose those burial sites?
I'm going to look at the actual bid documents so I give you this number right, because I don't want to guess.
While he's looking at that stuff up, the idea of these came about around like 8 or 10 years ago.
Yes.
And when we were going through the master plan for all the cemeteries, we have property that is on the north side of the street at this cemetery, and in Bellevue, we have property that's not usable, that was a spoil area for debris for a long period of time. So this came to fruition when we were trying to find use for some of those unusable spaces. And one of the complaints we had, and I think it's important to remember, is that accessing some of the grave sites, particularly in Bellevue, is challenging for equipment. And so what we were doing was we were tearing up some of the grave surfaces, some of the sod and surface material, getting back into some of the graves that were further back in, and there was graves in front of them. And so this was considered an idea to prevent that traffic, and it would maybe make it less destructive to have grave. Certainly we can't recommend this at that amount. You're hearing him say that. I want to confirm that. We certainly don't recommend developing and putting the money in the cemetery in this way today. I think you would be better served in the short term investing the money in expansion of Bellevue and expansion and considering how you can but the available space in Hilldale is much greater. And so the demand to expand there, but you already have the property to expand at Hilldale. And so you don't necessarily need to acquire property for it. So I think before you're spending this level of money in the cemeteries, I think the commission this is probably better suited for a workshop for you, because you really need to philosophically go into the idea of whether or not you want to be in the cemetery business long-term. And if you do, if you're going to invest this money, then you really need to expand Bellevue. And we've not really been successful in our efforts to try that. And Donna can shake her head with me. Like 15 years we've been trying to do that, and we've not been successful. And so that's a fairly large decision. And so certainly, Josh and I agree that we're recommending to reject the bids. And if you want to have a workshop to analyze the cemeteries or to get into it, or maybe have it more of an analysis done at a commission meeting with available space and all those questions, an effort to be addressed, that's probably, before you spend this level of money, that's probably the right thing to do. When this idea first came out, we were talking about $40,000 a piece. And with the inflation and the way the market's driven this pavilion, sans that back wall, shouldn't cost $380,000. That's where the market's at. And so that's a problem for us on small things like this. And we're not the only city. A lot of cities are talking about that. And so where I would be at is answering the philosophical question: do you want to expand your capacity to have burials at Bellevue we don't necessarily have the demand to add more land to Hilldale. That's a bigger issue. So consider that in answering the question.
And I talked to you earlier about, I mean, for the people out there, the citizens, you know, you think, well, you can build a house for $350,000 or $500,000. What's the difference? Why is it so high for just a pavilion? Is it just government rules?
Well, number one, we have to, yeah, it's government rules. Number one, we have to have a construction plans like this that cost money. Number two, we have to have a bond, right? Like, you know, that's $8,000 or $10,000 on a project this size. And so for us, it's just the way we have to do things, it just costs more, bottom line.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm not sure what the exact amount is. It depends on the project, but there's a huge surcharge for us being it being the government. And I think it is a lot of those details, the things that we add on. Once we have to advertise a project for bid, there's just a certain amount of risk that we push on to the contractor that drives those costs up. And you know, we are required by state law to design anything that is over top of a person's head by a structural engineer. So I've had to hire a structural engineer to develop the footers, foundations for this structure. Which they are very cautious people, and they over-design everything. But that's state law that we do that process. So yeah, I think and it's something we've dealt with a lot. I've dealt with a lot at the state that because theirs is even greater. Their surcharges, we could actually save a lot of money compared to them. But I think $380,000 doesn't even get you that nice. I mean, that big of a house anymore. I mean, its money is just not going very far right now, and I don't know if that comes back around later, and probably not because costs never go back down. But it's yeah, that was the thing about getting these 6 bids. It kind of tells you this is what a competitive price where people are trying to get the jobs, so they're not
Right.
gouging us. They're trying to get the work.
Well, I just wanted to say that because, I mean, a house would have windows and doors, you know,
Right.
but
Yeah.
it's
Yes.
just for, people to
air
understand. And air
Yeah.
conditioning.
The shelter is 30. The roof is about 35 by 35. The roof covered area is.
Okay.
The concrete area is about 40 by 60, which would be 6 sections, 6 lots in the cemetery, which would be 72 graves. And at Hilldale, we do about 15 to 20 burials a year. 2021, the high COVID year, we did 25. So at 15 to 20 a year, that gets you 4 to 5. That's 4 to 5 years would fill up those six sections. We still have 270 available graves in the section that we opened up a few years ago. So that's 270 graves. I mean, that's 15 years, 10 to 15 years. That's being really conservative. I think you probably go longer than that because how we sell graves, we don't sell graves how we do burials. Like we open up a section, we'll sell a ton, and then they just sit there and not get used much, and then you'll kind of start, then of course sprinkle it in over time. But then we have a whole nother area north of this shelter that we could open up that we have not surveyed off yet, that I think would be about 300 to 400 graves. So we have about, even if you put this shelter in place, you have about 30 to 40 years worth of graves. The shelter takes that down, that you could have 35 to 45 if we don't do the shelter. But, I try to think about our cemeteries in 100-year terms. So, because, do we ever want the cemeteries to run out? And I think the answer is no. So I think we have to plan 100-year kind of scale. So yeah, that's the thing. And we've talked about it, cemetery committee, we've talked about it. Hilldale, we love to do a lot of fence repairs and fence improvements. Take down that old chain link fence and put in some nice black aluminum fence and things like that. I kind of feel, earlier I talked about there's some site stuff that we would feel like our money would go further to improve our cemeteries. Then not put it all into this one thing. So we could, but yeah, like we said, we could do a workshop. Since I've been back, we really haven't had a commission kind of cemetery workshop to talk about the cemetery. It's just kind of, we just kept it going, and it's the direction it was headed. So it might be a good thing to kind of all sit down and talk about cemetery sometime.
And the expansion is across the street.
Yes, we own land across the street, but it slopes down to the creek, so we would have to do some some filling to use it as grave space. The original master plan had this shelter there. And we talked about that as a committee, and that's a location, you know, that some in the community wanted to be. And it would be a neat spot to put it because it would kind of overlook the creek, and overlook the park, and it would not take away good grave space. But it's going to cost more. Now we're already running into cost issues because we'd have to do some leveling. And then also there's some traffic flow issues there with how processions come in and utilize the space. So there's things we'd have to figure out there, but.
So, yeah, you need a meeting to go through the master plan.
Yeah.
To identify all the improvements and really make sure at this cost that that's how you want to prioritize this much money into the cemeteries.
In Bellevue, we're down to about 10 years of grave space, even with the new section. So that's, because we do about 80 burials a year in Bellevue, so it eats up space a lot quicker. So we really need to have a long-term conversation about Bellevue, because if you're talking 100-year terms of Bellevue, you're talking significant amount of acreage.
Well, yeah, we had a problem until we got the property from the school. It was kind of a lucky adjacency parcel that really found the city rather than the city pursuing it.
And to the citizens of this city and this county, we still allow everyone the availability to be buried in either one of the cemeteries that we own. I don't know about the third one that we own now, but I know those two we still have, allow everyone.
Those are the only two we are doing active burials.
Yes. Okay, can we carry this motion? Get you off the hot seat for a few minutes? So do we have a motion to approve 2309, 2502?
I'll make that motion, and the approval of the motion rejects the bids, right? Okay.
Yes. Is there a second?
Second.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, just a reminder that this resolution is to deny all bids, stay within budget, so I want to make that clear to the public. And compliment to your staff, Josh. After what I see it's going on at the fire department, you guys may be able to build this.
If we had the time, I would pursue, I would investigate that, but it's tough to find the time.
Okay. All those in favor of rejecting this bid, proper sign would say aye.
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 Those opposed, thank you all. Mr. City Manager, you have another item for us?
We do not need an executive session, but we would ask that you confirm and accept the resignation of Kim Sanders as a utility clerk. Her last day of employment was 9/15/23.
So the motion is to accept the resignation.
Of Kim Sanders,
Kim Sanders, okay?
yep, effective 9/15.
All right. Chair needs a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Does the commissioners have any other questions or comments about this issue? Everybody's looking, we're doing it outside of executive session, but that's okay. City attorney says it's the right thing, it's allowable.
Correct.
So chair calls for the question. All those in favor of accepting this resignation, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you all. Chair would the chair would like to entertain a motion to adjourn. Don't you all just scary?
I'll move to
I'll
adjourn.
second.
Wow, they shocked, right? Properly moved and second that we adjourn. All those in favor say aye.